All right, so here we are. The new episode of The Boys came out. Happy 4th of July, everybody here, if you're American or somebody else. And yeah, this episode was a lot to unpack. Before we get into it, though, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel here if you like these type of reviews. And if you're looking for more stuff, movie reviews, TV show reviews, reality TV reviews, check it out here on Josh Does Movies. But without further ado, let's talk about this episode. And we're going to get started with, I think, the biggest twist of this episode. So spoilers here if you haven't seen it yet. And that is Butcher is talking to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and I think everybody kind of figured this out after last week's episode, but it got confirmed here that this is just a subconscious individual that Butcher is talking to, and it really is his mind playing back the devil side morality when it comes to the soup and saving people. Obviously, Becca is playing the more angel side, letting Butcher know of like, hey, you need to save Ryan. You have friends that are soups, so they're not all bad. It really should just be about Homelander or just protecting Ryan. And then you have Jeffrey Dean Morgan's character, who is very much talking about taking out all the soups, and that's what Butcher really wants. And I think that scene was really well played at the end. And it was really kind of cool to get the flashbacks where Butcher is, pouring whiskey to nobody, is talking to nobody. It just, I think, was excellent use. Again, I think we kind of figured this out as an audience. And I saw everywhere on social media last week that this was the case, but I thought it was a very effective reveal here. I wonder if we're going to get Butcher really going for it, or will he say no to the devil side of him and realize it's not the path to go with. But outside of that, that was kind of all the progression we got over Butcher this episode. Talking about everybody else, they had Huey go into an undercover kind of big fundraising party. And there's some things here I liked a lot. Like one, the big secret meeting they had near the end, and Homelander tried dribbling up the classic boring, stupid people talk to get the masses going, and people there checking him like, hey, that's just to keep the public happy. Tell us why you think we should, invoke the 25th Amendment and get Victoria Newman as president. And I actually think that the Victoria stepped in and did a great job and really demonstrated what the actual power structure is in American politics, both on the conservative side and very much the liberal side, which it's not about what's right and what's wrong or whatever. It's about how can we give our donors and the people that actually fund all of these things more power and more money. And I thought it was expertly, said here by Victoria Newman, and her character really stepping up and going side by side with Homelander made a lot of sense here. So I like that angle of it. And that whole party there, Sister Sage, I kind of liked how everything there was taking place. Part of me wonders if Sage knew this was going to happen, all of this was going to happen, so she put herself in a position where she might be lobotomized by Mother Smoke's gunshot to put Newman on, pressure to step up and give the speech and to give their cause a lot more meaning besides just Sage doing it all. I don't know if that's true, but it wouldn't surprise me. Sister Sage consistently thinks 4, 5, 6 steps ahead when it comes to this season and The Boys. And on that note, I was surprised to kind of see Homelander understand, see her not being the smartest person in the room, and in his eyes, realizing how valuable and needed she is in the 7. He's starting to get a little bit of an ego, but him being kind of pushed back and not realizing he didn't have the right answers to say to get these powerful people to back his idea outside of him threatening their life, I think put him in a very vulnerable position, and I think made him realize how needed people like Victoria Newman and Sister Sage is to his cause. Outside of this, I think we had a really unnerving / entertaining / cover your eyes, I know I did, moment with Huey disguising himself as a superhero, where Tech Knight is a Batman type clone that is definitely using his dungeon not to crime solve but to sexually pleasure himself. And Huey goes through a whole lot of sexual harassment and all of that to eventually get Tech Knight to the area to where the boys find out what the plan is in internment camps, and maybe a superhero rise and, power rise. which we'll see where this goes further on. And definitely Huey, though, between losing his father, all this harassment, he is hitting a very vulnerable point where he's not okay as an individual, and that makes sense. And the scene with him and Starlight at the end, him saying, like, my dad died, I just went through all this, I'm not okay right now, I thought was very well done and very well needed. I also think Mother's Milk kind of, throughout this episode, him having the panic attack, him, the pressure of being a leader but being a good father and also being a good father for his daughter, what he's doing, is it okay for him to do, knowing what his daughter might take after him, I thought was a pretty interesting, good storyline. Definitely allows Mother's Milk's character and him being kind of the pseudo-leader now, I think builds up very, very well. And I even love how Kimiko, when she loses her voice with the texting, she's using the books to kind of convince Atran to get Mother's Milk to a hospital. And even Atran, whenever the kid sees that, whenever he dropped Mother's Milk off, the smile and fulfilling that Atran feels like he's doing something good, a good, nice touch. Wasn't the biggest fan of Atran being once again potentially flipping to the good side, but they're really doing a good job writing this season and making me feel that character, and its character's really progressing, and I understand his stresses, I understand what his motivations, and I see him actually getting better, and it's not, I think, as basic as we've had previous seasons. If he just ends up giving up on this, I'll be a little sad, but I think they're making the necessary writing movements to have this character, arc work very much better this season than it has in seasons past. Outside of that, there's no Frenchie, and it's nice to see Kimiko really kind of having no place to go. She lost her kind of second half. She lost her best friend, her almost moral compass, or just person who's always been there for her as a rock these first 3 seasons. And the heartbreak of her always showing up to try and visit him, as after he turned himself in prison and he isn't allowing her, is definitely one that hits here. But probably the biggest question mark for both the rest of the season and the biggest jaw-dropping moment of this season was the truth bomb at the end by Firecracker. When we find out that she has basically taken enough drugs to give herself breast milk so she can breastfeed Homelander, and you see the power that had over Homelander and what that means. I don't know what this could mean for the future. Is Firecracker going to become a pseudo-leader here soon? She's not looking for sex per se, but she's definitely looking for power, and she's slowly working herself from being just a normal alt-right wing newscaster using the news to make herself more popular, even though she knows it's kind of bullshit, to she has a message in here, she has an idea in here, and she has a lust for something, and I do think it's power, and I do wonder where it's going to be going, because again, this is the most we've seen Homelander actually kind of give in and drop down his kind of ego / his leadership power. He was feedled into her lap, sucking on her tit, having that that breast milk, and that mental condition for him has definitely gone off. And yeah, we'll see where that goes next week. But overall, this was a decent episode of The Boys. Wasn't the highlights of highs, wasn't the lowest of lows. It's an easy low platinum for me. I can't wait to see how this goes next week. And again, like and subscribe to the channel if you keep following these type of reviews or review other stuff. And tell me your thoughts on this episode. Did you really like this episode of The Boys? Was it too weird for you? Was it not weird enough for you? Or was it just the perfect Boys level of weird? But I'll see you next week. And everybody, if you're seeing this on the 4th later on, have a great evening and be safe out there. Peace.